Hi, my dear Astro family. So today I'm here to speak about the upcoming super full moon, which is also called as a strawberry full moon. So that's the reason why I chose the background picture, just because firstly, strawberries are one of my favorite fruits. And secondly, it kind of helps you to have a good understanding over this full moon. But before we do that, I would like to mention that June is a very interesting month because the first couple of weeks, there are hardly any major aspects going on, just kind of like two a week. However, we do have got 5 T-squares going on this month, which kind of indicates a little bit of an intensity. So I've decided to do a workshop on the 18th of June about how to interpret T-squares. So if you are interested in that, then I recommend checking that out on the website. And also I'm going to post the link in the description box below. It's going to be about £15. I think we're going to spend together at least about 2.5, 3 hours to explore what a T-square is. And this is one of the most important aspect configuration, because the participants of your T-square can rule actually up to 6 houses of your chart, which indicates it's kind of like half of your life, really. So T-squares need to be explored in depth if you have got one. Now, another announcement I would like to make, which I'm very excited about, I got invited to the CIA Astrology to hold a presentation. So I will do that on the 9th of June, and it will be about dwarfs. So we are going to be looking at the psychological whys of our chart. So to give you an example there, let's say you have got Venus in the sign of Scorpio. Well, let's suppose actually that you have got Venus in the sign of Libra. So we do know that Venus is all about relationship matters. And we are expecting that Venus to be functioning very well. However, maybe in your psychological chart, so basically that's the dwarf, Venus falls onto Scorpionic territories, which is going to be around on top of my head. It's going to be around 3 to 5 degrees of Libra. So what that would tell us is that, you know what, we still have got trust issues. We still might be struggling to kind of form elements of relationship. And that would be because of some type of broken promise, for instance, when we were a child. So it shows why certain things are happening. So if you are interested in that presentation I'm going to give to CIA Astrology community, then I recommend also checking it out, and I will be posting the link below. Now, let's get started with this super full moon. Firstly, why is it a super full moon? Well, when the full moon or the new moon occurs near the moon's closest approach to Earth, it's called perigee, and also it's called as a super moon. Now, this is a super strawberry full moon, and it's going to be happening on 23 degrees of Sagittarius. So what we will cover in this video, because there are loads of things to cover, the full moon is going to be conjuncting an asteroid called Varda. So we will be exploring the meaning of Varda. It's also very close by to the galactic center, which is on 26 degrees of Sagittarius. It is tightly squaring Neptune. So we have got a T-square. This is going to be one of the T-squares of out of the 5 of this month. It's also being sextile by Saturn. So we're going to have to look at the role of Neptune and Saturn together, because what Saturn does is actually it's anchoring Neptune. Neptune, who is dreaming, and Saturn says, hold on a minute, enough of dreaming. We're going to have to anchor you a little bit. And also we're going to be looking at a fixed star as well, which is actually right on the moon, and that's called Ras al-Hayk, which is on 25 degrees of Sagittarius. So it's being very close by to that galactic center. So this is what we are going to be covering in this video. So I recommend staying till the very end. Okay, so full moon on 23 degrees of Sagittarius. It's going to take place on the 14th of June in all major time zones. And the ruler of this Sagittarius full moon is Jupiter, which is in the sign of Aries. So what's interesting about this is that we are talking about a full moon, which is usually talking about endings. But because its dispositor, Jupiter, is in the sign of Aries, and the final dispositor of this full moon is Mars, also in the sign of Aries, it really is talking about beginnings. Now, whenever there is a Sagittarius full moon, there is always an expansive quality to it. The Aries energy kind of tells us that, you know what, we're going to have to be enthusiastic about something and we need to be going forward. So there is somehow the endings and the beginnings associated with this full moon at the same time. And it's kind of like prompting you to be ready for a new challenge. A Sagittarius full moon is always about, I mean, it can bring in a couple of topics for us, of course. It could talk about things such as, you know what, travel opportunities, or it could be ideal for release or adjustments when it comes to your adventures or your belief systems, your own philosophy. Or it could be about releasing kind of like the urge to find the meaning to life and sometimes going with the flow. Remember that Neptune, as well as the full moon energy, is happening in mutable signs, which is about flexibility, a little bit of an alteration of what we kind of think about, you know, what the meaning of life would be. But it's also great for adjustment or release when it comes to higher education, and it could be formal or self-guided education also. It might be about connecting with philosophers, professors, gurus, or someone who actually can provide with some wisdom to you. You might be actually wanting to, you know, publish a book, or you want to be connecting with a publisher. But I kind of believe that this is very much about the adjustment of your belief system, knowing that there is not only one true way, but there are actually, you know, other truths out there. And I think this is going to be one of the key factors by the moon conjuncting the galactic center, that there is one cosmic truth, and we're going to have to connect that cosmic truth. We're going to have to collect data, information. The sun is in the sign of Gemini, so that we can actually kind of join to the source of knowledge, the source of everything, really. But this could also affect the foreign travels, foreign kind of negotiations. And I am sure that that is the case. And this is something I've mentioned on my Facebook group. By the way, I would like you to kind of go ahead and like my Facebook group, because I post additional articles. I've started doing that, and short but you know, short but important articles. So I mentioned there, for instance, Saturn going retrograde on 25 degrees of Aquarius, which is actually happening on Sagittarius dwarf. So it kind of indicates there's going to be, again, some type of restrictions around travel or visa matters or educational matters. Anyway, so if you are interested about the little article, go on my Facebook and like the page and read up on some of these little short posts. I do that. But also, I kind of feel like the Sagittarius full moon is very much talking about celebration of life as well. Being enthusiastic about something, being motivated to get ahead. But in order for us to do that, we're going to have to somehow do some healing, which I'm going to come on to because there is a Chiron involvement here, and there is that fixed star I also mentioned, which is connected to healing. Now, the most important aspect of this full moon is actually a Neptune square and the Saturn sextile. So, of course, we should remember that each planet has got their higher and lower motivation or vibration. Now, with Neptune, either we are prompted to kind of go through a spiritual awakening, or it kind of blesses us to do something creative when it comes to, let's say, writing a book, or, you know, kind of like sharing your wisdom with others, in a sense. But also, if we are more on the lower vibration of that Neptune, what could really happen is that unfortunately we kind of feel confused and we are lost and we don't know which way to go. And we kind of don't know what to believe in anymore. And this is what I kind of see here with this Saturn and Neptune influence. Some people will believe, oh, there is no point in believing anything because, I don't know, there are Saturn governmental influences there and they do whatever they want. And some people with that Neptune are going to think that, you know what, if we kind of unite and we don't kind of attack each other, then we can actually make certain type of changes. So I kind of feel like those two planets are somehow dividing the energy. But also I kind of believe that Neptune square, because the square is an action-oriented energy, and because the final dispositor of this full moon is Mars, which is in the sign of Aries, it can actually help you work more efficiently and effectively with your dreams. It's just about getting off your laurels and then get it going in a sense. However, we do know that squares are typically challenging, and Neptune is about addiction or to a certain extent abuse as well, or we just want to be running away from mundane responsibilities. It's kind of like wanting to cry in the bedroom and not necessarily wanting to connect to the higher self. So that's why a Neptune rules anything to do with escapism. So it's kind of like, I feel like I'm aimlessly running around or, you know, doing stuff in life, and I'm just kind of feeling disconnected from life. Neptune is kind of like the energy of giving up, and I cannot do this anymore. And then we tend to be playing the role of the martyr, or we kind of feel like we are a victim in this society. So there needs to be an element of a wake-up call coming with this full moon. Are you enthusiastic? Are you optimistic? Can you connect with your higher self? Do you actually have an idea how to promote yourself, how to kind of come out of your shell? These are some of the most important topics of this full moon. But, you know, let's just focus on the higher vibration of that Neptune, because we are here to actually motivate you. Sagittarius full moon, you know, to kind of, in a sense, evacuate the lower side of that Neptune. So it's very much about, you know what, there is no problem with asking for help. Do I feel lost? Then I'm going to be connecting with like-minded people, and then I can break free from this dark side of that Neptunian energy. Am I addicted to something? Then let's get the help, what we need. Now, the fact that Saturn is actually having a tight sextile, which just gone retrograde, right? And it's very interesting that it went retrograde on Sagittarius what? So that Sagittarian energy is really emphasized here. And Saturn wants you to grow up. It wants you to be mature. It wants you to be responsible and trustworthy, kind of like being dedicated to something. It's about scheduling, timing, using your time efficiently. It's about plan something and then get ahead with it. It's about, I kind of feel like this Neptunian, Saturnian influence is very much about law of attraction. It's not enough to dream about it, but we're going to have to take action about it as well. Neptune is the planet of visualization. Neptune is the planet of idealization. It's kind of like imagining things, but Saturn wants to crystallize those. I mean, Saturn and Neptune, don't get me wrong, these two planets cannot be kind of any more different. I think I would be able to kind of hold you straight away, kind of like a lecture about it. But what I always mention with Saturn and Neptune, firstly, it's about Russia. So Neptune and Saturn, I've been saying this for years, whenever Saturn and Neptune connect, Russia always does something. So we can go back in history if we want to, but, you know, when there was a conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, which happened in 1989 in November, well, that was fall of Russia and the breakup of Soviet Union. 1999, when there was a waxing square going on, Putin became the prime minister. So basically a new era started there. 2006, 2007, when we had the opposition, this was when people started kind of protesting against Putin's policies. In 2015 and 16, basically we had the last square, the waning square, and we had kind of Russia is back on the world map. Obviously, they had again the war, and they became again a power in a sense. So some ways this Saturn and Neptunian cycle is going to be related to Russia surely. But, let's forget about politics for a second. But what I find interesting, as I said, Saturn and Neptune are two kind of like very different planets. One is about responsibility, the other one wants to avoid responsibility. Accountability versus denial, reality versus illusion and fantasy. One is serious, the other one is quite mellow. One is conditional love, and that's Saturn. Okay, I love you, but I've got expectations towards you. Neptune is about unconditional love. Saturn is more on the controlling side. Neptune is more on the passive side. Saturn can be very judgmental, discerning, and critical. And Neptune has got that blind faith. So, and then I can go on and on. Saturn is practicality. Neptune is about intuition. Saturn wants to do everything accurately. Neptune says, screw accuracy, that's not important. Let's just get on with it. One is about boundaries, the other one has no boundaries. One is about rules, caring for systems and rules. Neptune actually is about caring for other people's without any type of rules, because love has nothing to do with rules. And we can actually go on and about this energy, but I kind of feel like you get what I'm trying to say here. So it's not it's not enough to dream. It needs to be crystallized. It needs to be kind of like making a material form of whatever we desire. It's not about being just enthusiastic about something. And I think also, we said that somehow Neptune is connected to spiritual awakening. Well, Saturn is kind of like forcing you to do that. What usually happens with Neptune, that we tend to be looking through rose-colored glasses, but Saturn says, you know what? It's all kind of like black and white in a certain way. So I think it's very much about knowing what I want in life, what I don't want in life. And if I don't want it, let's dispose it, let's get rid of it, let's wash it away. And then if I really want it, let's get going about it. And also Chiron is actually trining this full moon as well. It's a kind of a little bit of a wide trine though, 7-8 degree, but it is. And I think it's about, Chiron is in the sign of Aries. And Mars will be connecting with Chiron actually the following day. So it's very much about, healing, kind of like our vitality in a certain way, healing that, I've got the right to be me. I've got the right to actually get things going. I've got the right to initiate things. I don't need to be afraid of expressing myself the way I am. It could be about learning to be a little bit more on the selfish side also. Chiron and Mars together for me is always about being scared of being me, because there is I'm gonna get somehow scrutinized for it. So it's about, I cannot be selfish, I cannot initiate things, I cannot compete. What's the point in competing? I'm gonna lose anyway. It's kind of like being a little bit, not necessarily overly careful, but we're gonna have to be preparing ourselves for the worst one. I'm not allowed to break promises, or I'm not allowed to argue. I'm not allowed to stand up for myself uh, because this is the way how I was taught. So there is an opportunity here to do all these healing journeys. And the healing is an important word here, because as I said, this full moon is connecting to a fixed star, which is on 25 degree of Sagittarius. It's called Ras Al Hag, and it's very much connected to healing. Now, Ras Al Hag is the brightest star of Ophiuchus, which is meant to be the 13th zodiacal sign. I don't agree with that, by the way. But it really talks about the desire to heal some wound, maybe the desire to heal physical body, because Jupiter and Mars are in the sign of Aries. But also it could talk about in ways you try to protect your ideals, and that might be the the Neptunian square to it as well. And you don't need to be protecting your ideas. Actually, you might need to be replacing them with new ones. So there is an element of a mentoring, recovery process, something to do with learning and teaching involved here. Now, one of the reasons why I was always very interested in this fixed star was because my path of fortune and midheaven conjunct this star. So actually the full moon is going to be happening on my midheaven, and how interesting that I'm going to be holding this presentation to CIA astrology community. Anyway, so I wanted always to look up, and then I of course checked Bernadette Brady's book about it. And she mentions that it's about connecting wisdom, sharing wisdom with others. And that is helping us to heal, but also it gives the opportunity for others to heal also. So there is so much of a healing going on with this full moon. Now, this full moon is also connecting an asteroid called Varda. Now, if you wish to look at your own Varda, its astrological number is 174567. It is currently placed on 25 degree of Sagittarius. And Varda actually was discovered in 2003. And Varda is the member of the Kuiper belt, named for the star queen. But she's also associated with tree worship. But Varda is basically the feminine polarity of creation. So before actually the humankind was born, she created the stars in the sky. But she was actually despised by the evilest entity called Morgoth. And why she was despised by him was because she could foresee the chaos and the discord, what is going to be coming once all the humankind is going to get kind of like created and so forth. And this Morgoth guy was, Morgoth guy was very kind of afraid of her. He was terrified of her and her ability to foresee things. And also she had this very strong aura around her. There was this light, which kind of represented the wisdom. So Varda kind of represents the antidote to evil, a light in the darkness. It's about shining through the darkness. It's about shining through ignorance. It's about seeing that the world is being decepted. So she's kind of like the star kindler in a sense. So I think this full moon is exposing some truth. And don't forget that at the same time, we do also have got Pluto and Mercury trine happening as well. So I think it's exposing some truth, travel opportunities, international and foreign matters. Probably there is going to be an element of a negotiation with kind of like other people or other people, or maybe you are meant to be kind of connecting with others to a certain way to gain higher wisdom. So it's really much talking about not seeing what you are meant to be seeing because you are blindfolded at the moment, And you're going to have to connect with others to kind of get more insight about certain type of things. Now, remember that this full moon is happening on 23 degree of Sagittarius, which is the very last decan of Saggy. And that's the second ward, which is actually bringing in some Virgo element. So it's about practicality. It's about analyzing the situation rather than just going with the flow now. It is, unfortunately, it brings in some medical matters. So probably there is going to be some return of medical issues or yeah, and probably this monkey type of stuff is gonna maybe be more serious, God knows, but somehow there is a medical matter involved here. But from a personal level, this is really talking about analyzing your lifestyle a little bit, getting out of a rut, having the faith that you can move forward. So guys, this is my interpretation on this full moon. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you did so, please press like. And don't forget to check out my P-Square webinar and also the CIA webpage where I'm going to be talking about dwarfs. Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.